Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an unusual little project of a witch. I'm titling this My Girl of My Dreams. We're going to be doing a witch here today. You can see how you can change up your rough out by putting hair all around her face or just coming from outside of the hat, from underneath the hat there. So we can change it up as a rough out. You can change it up as much as you'd like. And a lot of people say, oh, you can't. Well, you can. And so we're going to do this expression here today of no teeth, of the like she has no teeth in her head at all. So I'll try to teach you how to get that look like the lips are being drawn in. All right, so this is the rough out that we're going to start out here. This is Hilda, and she's on our website, vankellycarvings.com. And you can, like I showed you here, we can earlier, that we can change her up. You know, put a tooth in her mouth if you want to, or we can just do it without no teeth, but showing that the gums that she's taking her teeth out, or they're rotten out because she's ate too much candy corn or whatever. But we're going to show the expression today of a mouth that's drawn in. All right. So, and again, witches, you know, they need to be pretty ugly, but do the best you can, you know. And you can see there on the side view, we've got her nose is really sticking out, and you can make the nose like a hook if you want, or a nose like that there. So anyway, let's get started. And we're going to take the large safety first. Make sure that you have your glove on. Make sure that your tools are buffed and ready to go. And you're going to get tired of me hearing you say this, but the tools are the key to the success of this project or any project you do, and you must have them in good condition. All right, now we're going to start here with the largest V tool that you have in your arsenal of tools. And this is a largest V tool that I have. So we're going to outline the head. And this is wonderful wood. Going to be carving great today. And so we're getting rid of the excess here that the machine can't get to. The bit can't get to very good up in here. Now here on the side, you'll see the thickness here. That's hair that will be coming down. And we may, like this one here, we may put hair all the way around the face, the forehead, and down the side. Now this one here, I did not. I just put it on the side only. So you can change it up and make it yours or whatever. So now again, in this rough out here, she has a huge honking nose, and I'm going to downsize that today. And so, because even with this type of a facial feature that we're going for, we still want this 90-degree angle in the face. That way we can work from there. This is the quickest way to get to your facial features, instead of trying to carve from a flat side, if you would. That takes longer. Now, again, I'm going to come in here and shorten her nose up just a little bit, because I'm going to take underneath here, from underneath her nose quite a bit here after a while. That's my plan. You can have a great plan, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But again, just keep trying. You can see there we're trying to get the ridge. Let me turn it this way. I want you to see the ridge there that we're trying to work with. There on, right there. Okay? That's that 90-degree angle that we're looking for. All right, so we're coming in here with a little smaller V just to clean up more and to deepen her head to fit into the hat more. Now you can even turn this rough out into a hillbilly lady if you want to, or a pioneer woman, whatever. You can take the hat off and, you know, or put a bonnet on her head, you know. Yeah, you can change that rough outs up if you want to. Bad enough. You know, I always tell people, when you get a rough out from me or whatever, make it your own. And send me a picture of it. I love to see people's work. email me. Let me see what you're doing. All right, so that's where we're at so far there. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here and start cleaning up the rough out marks of the hair and trying to get this established. Her chin, and we're going to separate the chest from her chin because her chin is very pointy. Gravity over the years has taken over. And the muscles, we tend to see, as the older we get, the more muscles we lose, unfortunately. And I'm going to come around here in the back. Now this here, you can put the hair. And this is what this part right in here is. This is the hair. Okay. So we're going to do a little separation there. You might even carve you a cat to go with your witch. You know? Carve your little cat to go there. Undercut the hair to fit underneath her hat. Trying to get her face cleaned up here, or we can go in here a little bit, put in the features, because we're really, her mouth is going to be her focal point today, along with her eyes. And okay, we're getting there. Takes a little bit because I leave a lot of real estate on the master that I send off to my duplicator guy, and that way, if something doesn't work out, why, you could try it again and got enough real estate there to work with. right, what we're doing, this is called blocking in. We're just blocking in these features that we're wanting to put in and getting rid of the rough out marks. Because if you don't get rid of these rough out marks when you paint, it will make your carving look pretty rough. Even though we're going to make this face rough, you don't want to see fuzzies that the machine, the bit, or the tracer, they call it a tracer. It traces right over it. Now again, these are not done on a computer. They are done on a machine that used to make furniture, legs, things like that there. And table legs, chair legs, things like that there. So they're probably made in the 1930s, the duplicator is. And he can do 12 in one setting, or he can do 24 in one setting of rough outs. All right, so now we're coming in here. And oh, this is such wonderful wood. It's great to have, I think it's great to work from kind of a sorry piece of basswood once in a while you'll get, and because then you'll really appreciate a really good cutting piece of basswood like this one here today is. All right, so let's stop there a little bit. You can see there we're getting around the features here, things like that there. All right. Okay. Look it over and see where you need to put your cuts. All right. Now let's start with the facial features. And we're going to do like we normally do here. Now she is rough looking. Okay, so we're not looking, if this was if we were carving a nice looking lady, we would take much smaller cuts. And I'm working on to do a video on carving a female. So Van just got to get it worked out in his head because we wanted to look beautiful. All right. Now we're coming in. We're making our eye plane here. These are the eye planes. Okay, here and here. And then we're going to come in with our U-gouge or a soft V. This is a 3/16 or a 1/4 inch. Soft V, whichever works for you. And remove those two pieces. Now her nose, I've left it long. All right. Okay. So we start there with our U-gouge and we push straight in. We remove. Then we come here to the outside of where we started with that U-gouge or that soft V. Now, again, when you're having a hat on, your tools and the hat are going to run into each other. So you're just going to have to either remove more of the hat to where you can get the cuts that you need to make. And that's just part of it, all right? Now, we're coming in here with just a little flat gouge to flatten our eye planes where we can create the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to bring up Hilda here, and you can see that's where we're at so far. So we got a ways to go, but that's okay. All right, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to create her smile line. And I'm making this pretty deep because the cartilage of her nose and all the cartilages of the facial features and things, they just have a tendency to sag over time. Okay, so that's where we're at there. So I'm making those pretty deep. Then I'm going to come up and create the smile line. And I'm going to really give her a good crook in the nose. See there? Whew. Okay. Yeah, boy, look at there. I think a bird can sit on that, perch on it. It's really out there. Now I'm going to leave, I'm hoping, if I don't forget, I'm going to rough her nose up even more. And, that way, again, because we're wanting to try to create a witch here. And now I'm going to take my knife. Let's undercut. Let's get rid of all this underneath here and start getting this hat. Or, you could carve her pumpkin to sit next to her. She's a friendly old lady, but she's been flying around a lot over the years. Seen a lot of stuff. Of course, her hands are going to be in her pocket. She's just contemplating maybe her next trip or whatever. Have fun with it. Create a story for her, for old Hilda. All right, so I think what we'll do here is we're going to put a little bit of hair up here, just a little bit. All right, now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm bringing it right down this pencil line, creating a little bit of a divide here, bringing it down. I don't want to get into the eye area, and we're going to set this forehead back a little bit. I see there we need to do that, and then redraw in our lines there. And there we go. That looks better. Okay. Let's put in the hairline before we do the eyes. And then, again, this is just the line of the hair, the edge of the hair. You can see there in the camera. Let's come down the other side. Let's put in the line there and join in with the hair down here at the bottom of the rough out. Love to hear that. Look at how that sharp tool is cutting and curling up the curls on her. Isn't that neat? I just like that. Such a beautiful sound. And okay. And I'm going to deepen her area right in here, the side. Again. And we're just cleaning up to where we can to draw in some eyes. All right, so now we're going to take our pencil, and I'm going to make her eyes kind of small because they're kind of beady. And I'm going to arch her eyelids up a little bit. Like so. There in the camera. Okay. And then we're going to take our V tool. And we're going to take a 1/8 V tool, hopefully, and come in, carve the first line, the second line to create the upper eyelid. And then we're going to take our knife and we're going to make 6 cuts to her eye. Okay. Hope I didn't get out of camera frame there, but we'll try to behave ourselves here. Putting in our 3 cuts there. Let's look at it in the camera. All righty. I'm going to take my knife blade and go inside on top of that eye and set that eyeball further into the socket. Let's revisit that again. I see a little, there we go. Okay. And I'm going to sink in the forehead here just a little bit to get more of a hairline established here at the top. And you know, her hair doesn't have to be perfectly straight there. It can set off, you can set it off on the side. And you know, she's not very well kept. Her broom is probably better looking than she is. You know. All right, so now let's do the other eye. Let's do the second line. We've already done the first line to create the eyeball. Okay. You can see there. Okay. Now let's come in here. There we go. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, now let's do the other eye and our 6 cuts there. Making our cut on top of the eyeball. So now the wood gave away on me there, and so I'm going to go back and I'm going to reestablish our upper eyelid, and I'm going to do my best to do that here. So whenever the wood breaks, you know, you're going to have to go back and reestablish those foundations, and that's what happened. That's what we needed to do right there, because my eyeball was a little too little, and so what I did there is I went just a little higher up on the eyelid and recarved that. So anyway, sometimes you'll have to recarve things. The wood has its mind of its own sometimes. All right, now I'm going to come in here and just clean that up a little bit more. All right. And I'm going to knock off the edges of her eyeball a little bit there. Okay, now we need to go back in here. Our third cut didn't come out of there when we did the outside edge of the eyeball. And sometimes you have to revisit things, and that's okay. That's all right. Don't get frustrated if you're a first-time carver, if it don't turn out the way you think it should. Just don't get discouraged. Hang right in there. Now let's put in the bottom eyelid here. We're going to take our V-tool and cut that in. Okay. And I'm going to come around this way and put our eyelid, the bottom lid, in as well. And I'm making this kind of a thick lid. On the top and lower. Okay, there you are. Okay. All right, now let's start with the mouth area. Now again, we're just going to really exaggerate her upper lip, and I'm going to take it here and I'm going to kind of come down a little bit. Now remember, don't touch the sides of your smile line with your top lip or even with your bottom lip, all right? I don't care if you're doing a witch or I don't care who you're doing. They should not be touching there, all right? Because it just doesn't look right. And I'm still learning that myself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our knife and make a stop cut here. Now this is to give the illusion that she has no teeth and she's tucked in her bottom lip. Okay, she's tucking in that bottom lip-ish. And you know, and so I'm going to come in, undercut that bottom as I went through here, and with my knife I made a stop cut right to create the top lip and the bottom mouth area there. All right, see there? Woo, man, she's already looking mighty pretty, mighty pretty. Definitely don't want to pick her up hitchhiking. All right, very good. Okay. So I'm going to come in and create now the cuts that we need to. Now I'm going to use a U-gouge, I'm going to use a V-tool, and might even use my knife. And so I'm going to take my knife and make some cuts here, here, and here, and let's put one there. And then I'm going to take my knife and go in and relieve some of that out, like that. Or you can take your V-tool and do it if you want. But I think this gives it a more sharper, distinct look of the pieces, or her mouth is really drawn up, you know, and really pretty sad shape. Okay. All right. And now we're going to come in and we're going to really have some fun here. Okay, so now I'm going to take a U-gouge and or soft V and come in and make her face pretty gnarly, this mouth pretty gnarly. Okay. And come in and put in some distressing marks through here, you know. And let's undercut this chin more. When I get a rough out back, I usually carve it, and then I carve another one to see if everything works well. And if it doesn't, then I'll take the one that I've carved up and make it the one I want and send it back to my duplicator guy. And so there are some times I've had to retweak my first one that I sent off to him because it just didn't like the way it looked or carved or whatever it may be. So, you know, there's a lot to think about when you're trying to create a rough out to sell out here to people, and or even when you're doing a bandsaw cutout, you know. And so a lot to think about. But don't get discouraged by what you're not seeing. Sometimes, you know, with anything, you may have to take a break from things if you're stretching yourself out too much, because you can almost lose your creativity if you stress out too much on some of this stuff. So everything, just take your time and enjoy the carving journey that you're on. All right, now I'm going to come in here. Again, I'm going to make some cuts and places in her face here to show stress and just to where life wrinkles. All right, let's stop and give old Hilda a look here. Whew. Okay. And we need to probably do a little bit more here in the corner of her mouth over here. Give it more depth. And let's come back in and deepen these with the V-tool. And there we go. Because her lip, her bottom lip, you say, well, where's her bottom lip? Well, it's up in there because when people, you know, take their dentures out, they have a tendency to pull their bottom lip up. And up into their mouth, and because it feels so weird, you know. So, and yeah. All right, so let's come in here and put a few more distressing marks. Now I'm using a soft V through here. All right, now let's do some hair. And I'm just going to come up here with my V tool and try my best to just put some hair in and twist it and turn it and every which way. Make it go down. Because her hair is not very well kept, you know. Especially if you're out here riding on a broom or out in the elements. And yes, I try to break this hair up. I try not to. There'll be some areas where you'll have to kind of go so-called straight here on the hair, because it's just the way your tool's gonna dictate that. The wood's gonna dictate it too, in a way. Mostly your wood, but you just come in and crisscross them and mix them up. Okay, like that there. All right, let's go down the other side. Let's put in the hair there. And when you're doing the hair, make sure that you go all the way to the end. And you may even have to touch her shoulders and things. And you say, well, yeah, but that puts little marks on her. That's okay. You can always go back and clean that up with your knife, just like that right there. And nobody will know the difference. So, but do follow through when you're doing your hair. Now let's start back here. And let's start curving that hair a little bit. Okay. And I'm going up to a little bit bigger V tool. This is about a 3/16, somewhere in there. V. Whatever V you have, if it works for you, that's what counts. You don't have to have the exact same thing that I have. Okay. You just may have a knife and just a V tool, you know, work with it. Like I said in times past, I know a guy that just carves with a box cutter, you know. So see here how deep in that, right in here, to kind of create a shadow right there. Just kind of deepen that hair. Take our brush to her. All right. And you know, if you want, you can come in here and underneath her chin and make some distressing marks there, and even create more of her chin to stand out from her body. And so if you cut into the face a little bit, get rid of those cuts along her face there where the V tool is hit or whatever. And but again, no more. gnarly she is, the more beautiful she's going to be. Sorry, I've got to get my hands correct for the right cut and the safest cut. So, and okay, because we're about ready to leave this and go and work on the rest of her. But again, she is she's a piece of work. All right, so I'm going to come over here and kind of do the same thing. Even though she's kind of off kilter, you know, we've still got to make sure that all of our features are decently right. All right. And you know, if you do carve a pumpkin standing next to her or sitting next to her, have her eyes looking down at the pumpkin and have the pumpkin looking up at her, you know, or a cat or whatever, you know. Create a story for your carvings. You know what, too? I'd put a hole in her hat. You know, whatever. What I'm doing is I'm going down here and still creating more depth in her hair. Okay, and you know what? Come out here and create a little wart. Put it on her chin. You know? Make that little wart stand out. See, I'm trying to get a wart right there. Right there, okay? You can put it anywhere if you want. Put one on her nose. And I'm going to put one right here on her chin. And right there, part of her wart broke off. So we'll just come back in and we'll just leave it right there. Whew. Working our way around. Okay, now let's give the face a break. She needs a break. Woo. And let's start on the arms of her, right in here, and of course the chest area and all that. And so we're going to come in with our V tool here. Again, the largest tool you have. Create the separations. And like so. Let's do the back. Okay. And here's the arm lines right here. Okay, like so. Now this is where a long bladed knife is great to come into when you're removing a lot of surface. Now, again, this is going to take a little time. Of course, now this is the hair back here, and so just keep moving this wood. See, I don't stay in one spot very long. You'll notice that I just go all over, and I think that's good. If a flat gouge works better for you in these areas, then do so. You know, some people can't handle a knife very well. They don't have the strength in their hands or whatever it may be. Use a gouge. Use the biggest gouge, a flat gouge, or a semi-flat gouge, like a 3/4 or a number 5, you know. And with every tool company that makes tools, they all have their numbers and sweeps that they do. And so just be aware of that. Not all tool companies are the same when they do their numbering. All right, let's do her back 40 here. So when we go over the hump, our wood changes direction here. And so what I do is I just come in and try to make a dividing line there. Because if you try to go deeper, you're going to create a problem. So if it tears one way, just stop and go the other way. Switch a knife blade to where I can get in here closer, where I can have better control. Now I'm going to take my knife blade and I'm going to create a shadow right here in her arms here in the back. And I cut that a couple of times, and I'm coming in and bringing that out, hopefully, like so. I'm working my way around. And because she has her hands in her pocket here, so show a little hump right through there that the hand is in the pocket. Now she's wearing a dress, so there's going to be no dividing here. You're wearing a long dress. So as we come up to the chest here, we're creating that division there. Where the clothing starts changing direction. Come in and clean up the forearm. Come down, clean up the bicep area. Muscle right into there. And after a while, we're going to come back up here to the mouth, and we're going to turn that in to where we can round that off to where it's not so sharp edges on the mouth there. Like I said, there is no sharp edges on the facial features, even on this old girl here. And so, we'll come back here after a while, if I can remember to do that. Anyway, we're taking off all this real estate here on this rough out with our knife and using a pushing cut and removing all the rough out of this particular piece of wood. So see here how it starts to, well, it was tearing there. Let's see, then I go back this way, and when you get a spot where it's going to be an ornery, just take smaller cuts and eventually just take, and you'll take it away. Because if you try to make larger cuts, you're going to create more of a problem and more of a situation there. You don't want to. All right, now we're going to come around the bottom of her dress, work our way up through here. And rounding all that off there. I'm going to work on her big old shoes she's wearing. And you can thin these down, quite a bit if you want, but I like the big look of the shoes here. All right, I'm going to put her down here on the table a little bit where I can get better control and make these cuts for her shoe. These could be three sisters, you know, eventually. You know, could make a trio if you wanted. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so it's crazy what things will come into your mind. Maybe it's their cousins that came in to see them. Who knows? Putting in a few of the wrinkles there of the arms where they come to, where the joins together there, the forearm, the shoulder arm area. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a little, this is like a number 3 gouge. Again, whatever works best for you here. And I don't think that's going to work too good there anyway, so never mind. But anyway, we're going to take our knife here, we're going to make our stop cut for the other arm back here. And to create depth in the back of the arm and her back area. Now, I leave the hat toward the last because I found out over the years with experience if I try to do that too soon, it will break off because we're putting pressure on things when we're trying to hold it or trying to make a cut. And so we're going to address that hat toward the last here. All right, now let's try to wrap up this part, and then we can move on to the hat, and then we'll look it over and see where we need to do more work at. And of course, we've got to do the hair back here in the back, but we'll get there. We're on this journey together. Now I'm going to take my V-tool here and outline on the top of the shoe, coming down. Just kind of helps clean up the edges here. And to show separation here from her dress to the shoe. Now I'm going to use a longer knife to come in here and clean out in between. Now if you want to, take off from the sides of the shoe if it's easier for you to get in here to clean that up, and then take a little off her shoe. And remember, leave these rough areas like this. This is wrinkles and folds of her dress and whatever, you know. Things like that there. If you can see them, it's hard to see. There we go. Got to get it right. You can see these little indentations around here. So create some of those where her dress is gathering up, you know, at the bottom of her shoes. Now see, our wood's wanting to tear here, so here I am. I'm going to take smaller cuts, and look at there. It all goes away. So the problem is, a lot of times people take off, you know, they'll carve, they'll start cutting, and the wood starts tearing. Well, the wood may be changing in there. I don't know. It's hard to see the grain sometimes in basswood. But if it starts doing this, doing what I'm doing right here, this is just take off little here, little cuts. You think, well, I want to try to get past that, you know. Well, you'll dig a hole if you're not careful there. All right. So let's look her over here on the front, everywhere we can. I want to create some more depth right there. Okay, let's kind of look her over here so far. All right, very good. Now let's take our V-tool and put in the sole of our shoes. All right, I start here in the middle or wherever it is. Go right around. Okay, just like that there. Okay, let's skip over here to the other shoe. Let's do the other cut. Whatever V-tool works for you, or if you don't have a V-tool, you take your knife and make those cuts through there. Okay, now let's do the back of the hair, and then we'll do the hat, and we'll look it over, and maybe she'll be done. Who knows? We've got a lot of thickness here in the hat, or excuse me, the hair in the back of the hat, and so we're going to come in and carve this away. Oh man, it's wonderful when your knives are so sharp. They just glide through the wood. No effort. Now watch me later today, I'll have to eat my words. But for now, enjoy it. All right, now let's take our V-tool. Now we're going, since we got a hat here, we're just going to start here on the edges. Now you could use a U-gouge on her, you know, to soften her down a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of like to make her kind of rough looking. You know, that's what we're kind of going for. And knock that edge down and remind me to go to the front there to round her teeth a little bit. We don't want them too sharp. And working our way. I'll show you here in the camera here just a little bit what I'm doing. Okay, see how I'm breaking up the edge of her hair? Okay, Now when we get that edge broken, then we can come in and go right underneath her hat and create the hair that's going up into the hat area. Okay, now you take your knife and come underneath her hat and just remove those out of there the best you can. Take that stiff brush, denture brush, and get in here and carve those out. And again, come back through and break up these little high ridges. You know, these little ridges that where you've changed directions with your knife there. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller V, like a 1/8, and just kind of break it up even more. Again, we're not seeing every hair, we're seeing locks of hair on our characters. And then come back through and clean up the edge of your hat where your V tool has hit the bottom of your hat there, your edge of your hat. Like so. Can you see underneath there? All right. Very good. All right, now let's put in her cuff where her hands are going into her pocket there, like so. And if you want to put an area there to where you can put a button there after a while, you can do that. See that little square right there? Right there. Lean your V tool on its side. That way it cuts a groove to make it look like the hand is going up. That's going into the pocket that she has there. Okay. All right, very good. Now I'm coming in and just putting in some pretty good sized wrinkles in her dress. See there, those little wrinkles like that, and even on her arm. Right up through here, right up through there. Okay, now let's visit our, now this arm over here is a little thicker, so I just noticed that. So look at it, set it down, look at it, and when you come back at it here in the next few minutes, you'll see something that you'll need to do. So set it down, walk away from it, then come back, and you'll see some things you'll probably need to tweak. And I'm sure I will whenever we get done here. But, and that's the fun part of it too. Now, if you want, you can put a collar on her dress. And I think that would be very appropriate here for that. Bring it down, put the divide right there, and put in a little bit more into her dress here than just it going up into her hair. So, all right, so we're going to take our V tool, and all we're doing is outlining our pencil lines. Creating the color. Taking our knife blade, and our V tool, and laying the side of it to create that crease. If you wanted to put a little button there. All right. So there, we need to relieve that a little bit to bring out just enough, just a hint that that collar is laying on her shoulder or the dress part, and just undercut that a little bit. It don't have to be much, but you definitely need some separation there, though, just a little bit. All right, now I'm going to revisit her mouth area, and I'm going to come in and even put some more distinct marks there, and to give some more, not such a sharp edge there. That helped. And again, these are her gums, these are her upper lip, folded over, and so I want to soften these edges a little bit of these cuts. And that's why I said earlier, it's always good to go back and look at what you've done, because you'll see things you'll need to fix, or whatever it may be. All right, now let's take our pencil and let's see here. Let's create some action in her eyes here. Boo. All right, so now we're going to take a U-gouge here, and we're going to, now I cut this stop off. That way it wouldn't take so much time in our filming here. And so that way we can get down and creating her hat and the direction that it needs to go. Again, you're working with cross grain. And again, this is where your tools need to be really sharp. Again, her hat is not beautiful. She did not buy it for Easter. She's had this hat for probably a long time. May have been passed down to her. You never know. And two, you could paint little stars on it, and little moons and whatever on her hat to, be cute. I think it would be. Right around the hat you go. You might even carve up in here something, something living in there, a troglodyte, or who knows, maybe an owl lives up in there. She's got enough room up here in that hat. Make it fun. Make people smile. Your carving should make people smile. And or get a belly laugh or something. All right, now this is where we have to be careful because my bandsaw got a little too far in there, but that's okay. We'll make it work. I blame it on the bandsaw, and it's the operator, really. There we go. This little knife just taking it away. These are almost like hillbilly hats in a way. Hillbillies used to wear around here years ago. Okay. And, you know, again, look at the hat. If you need to take it down in certain areas, why do so? Use your U-gouge there, like a 3/8, you know, number 9 or 10, whatever will fit in here and fit your hand comfortably to make these cuts. Use that edge, turn that tool around to round things over. Take off the roughness of the machine. If it tears on you like it did there, take your knife and do it. Again, you don't have to have what I have to make a good carving, a fun carving. Just come in and use whatever tools you have. Because some people think, well, if I have this tool here, boy, I'll be able to carve like so-and-so. I've heard people say that. That is not true. So, you don't want to carve like so-and-so. Yeah, you may have get some of their techniques from them, but you try to come close to be like somebody, but at the end of the day, you need to come up with your own style of carving that will make you smile and make others as well. Well, all right. I believe that we can go. We probably might do a few more here off camera, but we can maybe put a band around her hat, you know, like this one Hilda I did. You can see the band there if you want to, and put a buckle and whatever. But this was kind of the face. Now here, I put something living in her shoe. So if you want to do that, that's a troglodyte. So that means a creature that lives under a rock or lives under something that's dark and damp. So anyway, you can see here that we've tried to come up with the girl of my dreams. Well, folks, thank you for joining us today on our project, The Girl of My Dreams, and I hope you'll will enjoy this project. And she is on my webpage, vankellycarvings.com, and I hope that you'll get one and carve along with me. Well, happy carving, and we'll see you real soon.